Can you unravel the world's greatest mysteries?
Can you explain the unexplained and find the pieces to the most puzzling cases?
Or are you an alien living on the dark side of the moon and you want to know if it's worth getting solar energy panels for your home?
There are no aliens on the dark side of the moon, Tiernan.
Oh, aren't there?
Are you a mythbuster?
Or a myth truster? I'm Tiernan.
And I'm Athena.
Welcome to Bust or Trust,
a kids' mystery podcast.
And we are the Busters or Trusters. We look into some very strange stories from around the world. No mystery is too big for us. Monsters, ghosts, and all types of the unexplained. Like how birds can fly, but flies can't bird.
That's not weird. Fly is a thing you can do. You can't bird.
It's a mystery, a really big mystery.
We dive into all the evidence we can find and present all the facts, figures, and testimonies. Then it's up to you, our chief detectives. You'll work out what it all means and make up your own mind. Is our case a pyramid of mysteries or a pointless tale? Are you a mythbuster like me? Because things aren't always what they seem.
Or are you a myth truster like me? Because reality is an illusion.
Really? So, if I pinch you, it's actually not real?
Wait, no, that's not how it works. Ow!
See? Reality is very real.
Meanie. We'll tell you at the end of the show just how to get in touch, and you can let us know if you're on Team Buster or the best one, Team Truster. We'll also hear from you, our chief detectives, and your thoughts on our previous cases, so stay tuned.
But until then, make sure you take notes, pay attention to all the information, and start putting together your case.
The case.
Tiernan, what's the case this week? Tiernan? Tiernan! Where is he?
Greetings, I am Pharaoh Tiernan.
Tiernan, nice hat, but what are you doing?
I don't know who this Tiernan you speak of is, but I, a completely different person, am here to help you bust or trust this week.
Oh, I see. Right. What did you say your name was again?
Pharaoh Tiernan.
Yeah, that's quite a mouthful. Have you got a nickname? Like, definitely not Tiernan or something?
You could call me Pharaoh, the word for an ancient Egyptian leader.
No.
Come on, Athena, I'm trying to help. Today's case is all about the mysterious disappearance of the ancient Egyptian queen Nefertiti, and how some people think she renamed herself Nefertiti to succeed her husband as Pharaoh.
And how does getting an even more unpronounceable name help with that?
Well, I wanted to see if anyone would be convinced if I said I was someone else entirely.
I'm not. So that's an easy win for Team Buster then?
No. It's up to our chief detectives to decide if we know what happened to Nefertiti or not. So for now, this Pharaoh demands facts.
I'm not listening to a pretend Pharaoh. Here's some Nefertiti facts for the chief detectives because they deserve them. Nefertiti was a queen in ancient Egypt in the middle of the 14th century BC. So, more than 3,000 years ago, which is not too long before Tutankhamun ruled, who, our chief detectives might remember, is someone we've talked about in a previous Bust or Trust case. Nefertiti was married to the pharaoh Akhenaten, and as rulers they were known for changing the ancient Egyptians' religion to Atonism. With Atonism, people worshipped just one main god, the sun or Aten, which was very different to before when the pharaohs demanded people believe in many, many gods. This is also why Akhenaten's name ends that way, with Aten. Nefertiti was thought to be very beautiful, and in fact her name means the beautiful one has come, though she was actually called many different names by the ancient Egyptians.
And you complained because I wanted to change mine just once.
No, because you were pretending to be someone else and didn't even wear a disguise. Nefertiti became famous many, many years later for a sculpture of her head that was discovered in 1912. Archaeologists, who are scientists who look at the past by digging up relics and examining them, found the bust when they searched through the workshop of a famous ancient Egyptian sculptor, and it's said to be the most copied piece of art ever. The funny thing about Queen Nefertiti, though, is that we have no idea what happened to her. Historical records about Nefertiti just stop in the 12th year of her husband Akhenaten's reign, and no one knows why.
But, Chief Detectives, it's very likely she lived on, changed her name and became a ruler of Egypt, a pharaoh. And boy, oh boy, do we have the evidence to prove it.
We'll see about that, but let's hear the evidence then, O Pharaoh.
I knew you'd get on board with my new identity. On to piece of evidence number 1.
First piece of evidence.
Before I give you the first piece of evidence, I just have to warn our chief detectives that I'm about to mention a lot of tricksy-to-say names, so I would like to apologise in advance to any ancient Egyptians listening in case I get them wrong.
I think you'll be okay, but you might have to worry about what their mummies think.
Ha! Good point, Athena. Right, our first piece of evidence is the pharaoh Nefertiti, a female pharaoh that ruled Egypt after Akhenaten died. Maybe. In fact, there's still some dispute if Nefertiti ruled after Akhenaten, or if a male pharaoh, Smenkhare, did, and then Nefertiti. It's very unclear, and in fact it's so unclear that no one's even entirely sure who Nefertiti was, leading many Egyptologists, who are people that study ancient Egypt, to believe it was Nefertiti. This is because, as Akhenaten's wife and someone who was very involved in his leadership, it would make sense for her to succeed him. After Akhenaten's death, the Egyptian people went back to their old religious ways, deciding anyone who worshipped Akhenaten's style of religion was the enemy. Experts think Nefertiti changed her name so the people wouldn't know she was Akhenaten's wife, and also because she was clever enough to rule and calm the people during such turbulent times. And if that wasn't enough, on the co-regency stela, which is a type of decorated stone slab, Nefertiti's name has been chiselled out and replaced with the name, that's right, Nefertiti.
Well done for getting through all those names, Tiernan. Let's see how I do. They really didn't like short names in those days, did they? Right, that was very interesting, but as you said, it's all very unclear. Several Egyptologists might say that Nefertiti was really Nefertiti with another name. But others think the female pharaoh was actually Nefertiti and Akhenaten's daughter, Meritaten, who was at some point married to Smenkhare, meaning she either ruled before her partner, then stepped down, or stepped up after him. As for the co-regency stela, it's so damaged no one can really tell if the images on there were changed, as well as the names. For now, it's all lost to history, which means we just don't know.
Well, don't know doesn't mean not true, does it? So that still means there's every chance Nefertiti changed her image and came back all Nefertiti, something the second piece of evidence backs up.
Second piece of evidence.
Which is that no one knows what happened to Nefertiti. It was thought that mentions of her stopped entirely after the 12th year of Akhenaten's rule as pharaoh, so many experts assumed that was when she had died. And in fact, there's some evidence that shows that in the 12th year she became a co-ruler with her husband, which is why mention of her as queen stops. And even though there's a burial site that was intended for her, there was no evidence of her body ever being placed there. The theories around this are that because she changed her name to lead Egypt, she may be buried as part of a tomb for pharaohs instead. In fact, there have been scans showing anomalies in Tutankhamun's tomb that suggest Nefertiti could have been buried in there too. Then a discovery by archaeologists in 2012 at a dig site in Deir Abu Hinis, a village in Egypt, suggests Nefertiti lived a lot longer than previously thought. An inscription, which is writing found on stone, was found that is dated from the 16th year of Akhenaten's time as pharaoh. It says, "Great royal wife, his beloved, mistress of the two lands, Nefertiti, Nefertiti," which shows not only was she alive, but also was called by two names, one of which is the female pharaoh she must have become.
Hold your horses, or rather camels there, Tiernan. Firstly, theories, as you keep saying, are just that, theories. It means no one knows for sure and is making an educated guess what it could mean. And yes, that discovery is very interesting, and Egyptologists say it definitely shows that Nefertiti ruled between the death of Akhenaten and then Tutankhamun becoming a pharaoh. But the way it is written also could mean it was about both Nefertiti and also her daughter, who was married to the pharaoh Smenkhare. So it could still be her they mean by the name Nefertiti.
So they don't get their own separate lines on the inscription? That seems unfair, doesn't it?
Yeah, tell me about it.
There is still one thing that may make it even clearer that Nefertiti was Nefertiti and Nefertiti was Nefertiti.
Bet you can't say that twice quickly.
Well, I'm sure our chief detectives could, and if any of them want to send in their attempts, then they really should. But I'm not even going to try.
Third piece of evidence.
What's in a name? Well, the third piece of evidence says it could be quite a lot. The name Nefertiti means the beauty of Aten, which is also what Nefertiti's name means. Coincidence?
Is that it? The beauty of Aten could also mean she was the daughter of Akhenaten, and another one of Nefertiti and her husband's children was called Nefertiti Tasheret, which means beauty of Aten, the younger. All I'm saying is that it's very hard to know exactly what happened to Nefertiti when the only historical records we have are old damaged stone tablets and inscriptions that have been buried for many, many years.
I'm just starting to wonder if Nefertiti was a true master of disguise. Maybe no one's ever found what happened to her because she's still around pretending to be someone else. We are here as the new president of the United States of America makes their first speech to the nation.
People of America, as your new president, I will...
Hang on, I recognize you. That's no president. That's Nefertiti in disguise.
Oh, I've been rumbled. Time for another disguise. Package for you.
Oh, thanks very much. Hang on a second. I recognize you.
Yeah, I'm your everyday postman. That's here, every day.
No, you're not. You're no postman. You're Nefertiti in disguise.
I've been rumbled again. Time for another new disguise.
This is it, boys. We have her now. There's no way Nefertiti can get away this time. We've got eyes on every possible disguise she could have.
Woof, woof.
Oh, look at that cute little puppy. It's so adorable. Run along, puppy. We wouldn't want you to get in the way of this serious mission.
Woof, woof.
Hang on a second. That puppy looked familiar. Wait! Stop that adorable floofy pop!
Nefertiti strikes again. No one will ever catch me.
Wow, she is so good at disguises. This explains a lot.
How do I know for sure that you're not Nefertiti in disguise?
Or you're not. Though I think if either of us were, then they wouldn't choose a case that might expose the disguise.
That is true. And also why it's still up to our chief detectives to decide. Did Nefertiti become the Pharaoh Nefertiti, or does her disappearance remain a mystery?
It's time to recap the evidence.
Evidence recap.
The first piece of evidence is that no one knows the identity of the female pharaoh Nefertiti, leading many Egyptologists to believe it could have been Nefertiti under a different name.
But other experts think it could also have been one of Nefertiti's daughters.
The second piece of evidence is the mystery around Nefertiti's death and an inscription found by archaeologists at a dig site in 2012 that shows she lived longer than previously thought and was known by the name Nefertiti Nefertiti.
But the inscription could also be referring to two different people. And theories about how and when she died are just that, theories, which means there isn't proof of them yet, or may never be.
The third piece of evidence is the name of the mysterious female pharaoh, Nefertiti, which means the beauty of Aten, the same as the name Nefertiti does.
But that's also why one of Nefertiti's daughters had the same name, so it doesn't help prove anything.
So now we're handing it over to you, Chief Detectives.
What do you think? Are you a Nefertiti definitely wasn't the Pharaoh Nefertiti, and so the mystery remains a myth buster?
Or a Nefertiti definitely was Pharaoh Nefertiti, and now we know what happened to her, myth truster? We want to hear from you, and most importantly, which side you're on. I'm pretty certain everyone and their mummy is on Team Truster on this case, for sure.
I don't think so. I reckon everyone and their many identities are all 100% Team Buster. Send us your voice notes with an explanation of why you're a myth truster or myth buster when it comes to whether Nefertiti was Pharaoh Nefertiti or not.
All you have to do is ask your grown-ups to help you email us your voice notes or thoughts to hello@bustortrust.com.
Tell us your name, age, what you think all the evidence means, and please make sure your grown-ups give us permission to use your voice notes or emails in our next episode. You can also send us a question on Spotify Q&A, but please get permission from your parents and don't include any personal details so we can publish them safely. We won't always be able to use all of them.
But we really love to hear them.
We've had some brilliant comments left on the Spotify Q&A from our chief detectives.
And here's one from Jinx. And they said, first off, Peter Pan isn't real. So that means the whole don't exist equals die isn't real. As for the fairies, I dunno. Evidence says fake, but also real. That's the tricky part. Hashtag Team Who Knows. Well, Jinx, all I can say is, quick! Save the fairies!
I think Jinx is almost a buster. I think that's almost a buster. Team Who Knows might as well be Buster. That's our new team name, actually. Team Who Knows. Thanks to all the chief detectives out there. We make a great team.
We definitely do. And if you enjoyed the show, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or Amazon Music or wherever you listen to your podcasts for more great episodes. We love to hear what you think, so please do rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps more detectives to find, bust or trust. We'll even read out some of the reviews on the show.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time for more Bust or Trust. Tiernan?
I don't know that name. I am Pharaoh Nefertiti.
Oh, that's a shame. The postman just delivered this bundle of tasty snacks, but they're all for Tiernan, so I guess I'll have to send them back.
No, wait! It was me all along!
I knew that would bring you back.